I think one of the best examples of a story that we have botched and should have told ourselves a different version of was COVID. COVID to me is probably one of the most fundamental fumbles of our lifetime for a lot of different reasons, but particularly politically. And particularly for people who, whether you identified as a Democrat or you identified as left of center or as a leftist, regardless, whatever, you know what I mean? Honestly, maybe if you are on the right, who cares? Whatever. But the reality is, it was such a missed opportunity in terms of the story that we chose to tell ourselves about that moment. There were a lot of really grave and practical realities to what we experienced. And I feel like so much of what we're experiencing right now, even though a lot of it is a settle up for 249 years of fuck shit on the American, history side and propaganda that we've been sold and also completely bought into around how it is that this country has shown up both domestically and in terms of our foreign policy. Like, there's that for sure. But like with COVID, it was so interesting to me because a lot of bad shit happened, don't get me wrong, and we are very emotionally different afterwards, which I'll get to. But we chose to peddle a much darker narrative around what happened to us during COVID. Not that a lot of real shit didn't happen, it did. And we need to settle up about that. I'll come back to there. But like, it's interesting to me that like there is a whole other alternative aspect of COVID that we just completely skipped over, which was, yes, we had to shut down the global economy. We had to stay inside of our houses and completely change the way in which we imagined work, etc. You know what I mean? All of those things, though, up until that first week of March, were deemed inconceivable. And then we realized that we were at a moment where our actual existence was at risk. And so our literal survival required us to operate differently. And I feel like we are not only in that moment now, but we are perpetually in that moment where we are realizing that, hey, the world that we've built for the people that we have been up until this point no longer accommodates who we understand ourselves to be becoming and what the world is requiring now. And so we have to make some shifts. And the thing is, we fucking did it. The whole entire world shut down. Could have done better, whatever. But we did it. And instead of coming out of that experience and being like, yo, this shit was wild, but look at what we were able to do, and I wonder what else we could apply that same level of thinking to, that approach to, in terms of our level of innovation, we didn't. We were really insistent on just pushing ourselves back into the smallness of a world that we watched fall apart. And we were so insistent to just get back to normal and get back outside that we never actually asked ourselves, well, who are we now? And what parts of the old world need to stay dead? And what parts of the world do we now need to build based on who we understand ourselves to be? And I think that's always the question. Like, it's these types of questions that we have to figure out how to ask together. Otherwise, we're always going to feel like we're sitting here haggling over who has power politically, etc. And it's just kind of like, what world are we building? Where have we essentially been bullshitting ourselves? What story have I been telling myself about myself, my life, or this world is false? What story feels incomplete or too small for actually who I know myself to be? And is it possible that you could just show up in your day or your week just trying to share a more full, robust version of that person? Because we need to start building for those people, not just trying to salvage what we've seen so far. Anyway, so that's a you and that's a yours. The hours I'll add to the Substack more soon.